Hello and welcome to TXM TV. I'm Anthony Clyne and today we're joined by Peter Rewi in Auckland. How are you, Peter?
I'm good, Anthony. How are you?
I'm well, and I'm wearing orange, and I was last wearing orange probably when Marcus Downie saw me. How are you, Marcus?
I'm very well, thank you, Anthony. How are you going? Good to join.
Oh, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure and I'm very grateful that you're here. So today all this week we're sharing Sensei stories. So as Lean Senseis, we help people understand, and we often draw on our own learnings as the inspiration for that. And one of the key learnings that I got taught is when designing value streams and supply chains, the message was to always flow where you can. And it's all about creating flow. And so the message is from a Japanese sensei. He said, flow where you can, pull where you can't. And so the goal is to always flow from the pacemaker process as far as you can to the customer. And that way the product keeps going. And the reason for that is that a pull system, which we sometimes know as a supermarket or Kanban or Kanban, is waste in itself. Sure, it's a very good way of making each process independent, but in itself, it's inventory and it's waste. And I recently did a value stream map for a integrated supply chain amongst 5 locations, and we picked our pacemaker, which was a manufacturing process, and then we flowed through the machining process, through the assembly process, and through the integration process, and we saved $30 million in work in progress. So if we had have just pulled because it's easier, then all of that inventory, because of the high value of the product, would have added up to a lot of money. And so by flowing where you can and pulling where you can't flow is a really good way to minimize inventory and deliver to the customer, as long as the customer lead time, you can hit that. So that's my tip that I got told, and I always remember that one. And it's a lot about doing practical things. And Peter, what practical tips have you been taught, or can you share?
Yeah. It's interesting because we spoke about this yesterday, and a lot of my practical tips are like from 15 years ago when we talk about senseis. But one in particular, we talk about go see, yeah? The difference between actually getting a group of people together, trying to do high level problem solving, for example, in a really well kind of like designed meeting room. It's comfortable, there's coffee just down the road, so it's not a big problem. The reality is, my little story is about the value of go see. And so a lot of years ago, all right, we were involved in a problem solving event. And as I've just explained, we were all in a meeting room and we had all the whiteboards all going, and everyone was going through, trying to go through, doing their 5 whys and DMAICs, trying to get an understanding of what the problem was. Now, the problem was, so we're talking about the brewing industry, there was a disconnect between the guys who are working on the floor. They have a buffer tank there that stores beer so that there's enough beer on site when they're filling. And the numbers that they were getting weren't the numbers that were actually coming across on the automated screen for the team leaders upstairs. And so who was right? Was it the guys on the floor, or was it the team leader? So we were having this conversation in the room, and at the time my sensei was standing, leaning up against the back wall and just listening to the conversation. And he just kind of like and quietened everyone down. He says, everyone get your vests on, let's go see. So everyone went, well, okay, let's go see. And there's an inconvenient factor there because it means walking around, and yeah, but we've got all the experts in this room, but we got all our vests together and we all went down to the keg bay and we went up to this buffer tank. And the first thing that happened when we got there was the lady that was in charge of the PLC information, or the automated transfer information. She goes, it's definitely upstairs where we get the right information. And the reason why is because this PLC here is the one that's, wait a minute, it's not connected.
And
disconnected it. And so we're all sitting there, and this whole big problem-solving event was put together, and it could have been solved if people had have gone down and had a look to see that this thing had been disconnected. So as a result, all right, it was discussed, it was solved, all right, but I think the lesson for me, and I think a lot of you would agree, is do your groundwork first and go to where the problem exists and talk to the people that are having the problem. And you might find that you've taken something which could have taken 3 to 4 days to fix and done it in a couple of minutes. There you go. That's my story.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's gold. That builds on Rob Chittenden's story from yesterday about the sensei that said to him, do what you can today. And it's about that practical nature. And at TXM, that's what we are, very practical.
Yeah, I think the best experts in a lot of fields are the ones that actually rely on other people who actually are at the coalface. You know, those are great experts. The ones that actually go, I'm not an expert in this. I'm an expert in actually helping solve problems, but I'm not an expert in the problem.
That's right. And that reminds me, Peter, of another story where one of my senseis, and I respect John Allen deeply, and John is a Kentucky Toyota HR manager, and he actually helped lobby the Kentucky government to build the first Toyota standalone plant in Kentucky. And he did that by understanding the value set of education and the fact that it's far away from the existing automotive plants to have a fresh culture. And he was telling me, Anthony, Lean comes dressed in bibbed overalls and looks a lot like hard work. So thank you, John, for sharing that. And the essence is true. It's around, there is this lasting expectation of perfection. And to get the perfection, it takes a lot of repeated behaviours, a lot of effort, and it's a lot of hard work. And so I always remember that. And so we, on one hand, we're doing what we can today, but on the other hand, we're then going and fixing it up, and it takes a lot of hard work to get things to stick and to fix them up so they last forever. And that's, I think that's the message he was giving. So there are our inspirations. Marcus, what's your perspective from your experience?
Well, just listening to that, to those stories, I mean, from my experience, it's very important to extend that go see concept through your supply chain. So from involving your suppliers is really important in that process, because you can often solve problems in your supply chain by extending that thinking right through to, you know, providing information to your suppliers, making sure that you network appropriately with them so that you can help them to help you. And that's often forgotten. You're often focused on your internal issues, but you forget about involving those that are interacting with you outside the company. And from my experience, that can be very beneficial if you extend that go see through to those people that are important to you outside the company.
Yeah, and inviting your suppliers into your own business and asking them what improvements do you see that we can do. It's a shift in mindset as well as a beneficial view of what's possible.
Yeah, one of the quotes I like is suppliers often know more about your business than you do. I think it's really important to reflect on that.
That's right. All right, and we're joined by Kevin Bennett from the Best Practice Network in Queensland and New South Wales. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very good, Anthony, and Peter and Marcus. Great to catch up with you. Going well today. Going well.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, Kevin, and also thank you, Peter, and thank you, Marcus Downie, for joining us.
No problem.
And tomorrow we have more Sensei stories where we're joined by Luciano Peloche, who's going to share his wisdom from Toyota and from his experiences all around the world. And thank you for participating and watching this live production. Remember to comment on our LinkedIn page and email us at txmtv@txm.com. I wish you all a safe day and look forward to joining you again tomorrow. I'm Anthony Clyne, and thank you for watching.
Cheers.
Cheers.